questions after some information has been presented for you to take a look at. On the Jasper County, we had a note for new construction. New construction is listed by both. In Jasper County, it was $13 million, $13.5 million. And then in Newton County, the new construction was $1.5 million. Those are things, if I built a house and it was added for the first time last year to the tax roll, that's new construction. If I made a significant improvement to my property, that's new construction. Those are things that were not on the prior year tax roll. So this is everything that's been added subsequent to those houses that were taxed in years past. So we get that information from both counties, and there's where we start the process. If you'll roll on forward, we run some numbers, and we actually sent this to the Missouri State Auditor's Office, and what you're seeing is what they sent back to us. They look at our numbers. If they agree or don't agree, make a change. But this is what we got from them. So they go in, and for instance, at the top, they want to know about what do you have as far as your assessed valuation for real estate, and this is combined for both counties and for personal property. So if you look over there, we have now $895 million in assessed valuation in real estate and personal property. And then on line 2, they ask the question, how much of that is because it's first-time taxed, or it's new construction, or improvements that caused a change? And combined with the two counties, it's $15 million. And then they say, how much did that 895 go up because of an increase in personal property? And in this case, between the two counties, it went up $5 million. So we take a look at that, and the interesting thing then, if you will note, that $20 million is subtracted from $895 million for tax levy setting purposes, saying now you have $874 million, almost $875 million now that we're going to look at a tax rate based on that amount. The statutes are very clear. You cannot generate more money due to reassessment than the lesser of 5% or CPI. CPI was 2.1%. So if that had increased, they would come back and say, we'll let you capture a little more money by holding your levy the same, but you'll have to set a levy unless it's 275, and then by law you can keep it there. You don't have to go below 275, but we will let you do that, but you can only keep a growth in local revenue of 2.1%. However, since that is negative, it's zero for us. So we can capture no new money on property that has been previously taxed. So they come back, and the statute is, you cannot generate any more money from existing property than we generated last year. So that is what we worked through, the $874 million. When you take a look, actually, and we have the state auditor's numbers, because the Joplin assessed valuation went through this period of a downturn, actually the ceiling levy, new ceiling levy, is $3.13. Now, you couldn't levy that today if you wanted to, because this is a reassessment year. And what you chose to levy last year at $275 has to be, by statute, considered as the ceiling levy for this calculation. So $275 is what you have to work on. Next year, when you take a look at levies, you would have an option of, looking at the ceiling and making a decision. But for this purpose, what they're saying is, what would your levy have to be to generate the same amount of money that you generated last year in the aggregate, not counting new property? So have I lost anybody? So if you scroll on just a little bit, 874 is kind of the amount, and we're going to, now if you look at this one at the bottom, this is last year, we had $886 million. So if you multiply the levy of last year, which the board set at 275 times 886, or 886 times 275, and then divide by 100, that tells you how much money you can generate. Or if you go back up and multiply it by 874.9 by 275, you're going to generate less money. And because the 275 is the ceiling levy, because that's what the district chose to levy last year, you can adjust that levy, the 275, to a point where it generates no more money than what you generated last year. If you had $0 in new construction and you had $0 in growth of personal property, you would actually be seeing about a close to $400,000 cut in revenue by holding the levy at 275. So if you will scroll on past that, this is actually what we are showing as the calculations concerned. The assessed valuation on property that was assessed the prior year dropped the value 1.27%. That's what's indicated there. Since that's a negative, we can't put any additional growth in there, and that's what all that is above. And then they come down, they work their way through this formula, and again, all of this came from the state auditor when they verified our numbers, so we thought, these aren't our numbers that we came up with. They ran that in this information they have. So this is the calculation process that you roll through. If you'll roll it on down just a little bit, a levy of $2.79.29 will generate the exact same amount of revenue that the district generated last year. And the law allows you to do that. Otherwise, you would actually be doing a tax cut in the aggregate amount. So that's why we posted the information. If you will go then to the original, let's go on. Yeah, I didn't talk about debt service. They do the same thing on debt service. They run the numbers for us. I mean, we ran the numbers, and they just validate our numbers. And if you go through, what it really boils down to is school districts used to kind of pad that over there and have more money than was needed. And so the General Assembly was looking over and say, well, you got 3 times as much money than years, and I'm going back quite some time, but this is a little history. You got more money there than 2 or 3 years. You don't need that much. So by statute, they passed that you can, this is not subject to the levy hearing, only the setting of the levy. Because it's interesting, selling of general obligation bonds has committed the district to collecting a tax sufficient to pay the principal and interest. And so the board has to determine if we have enough, how we want to do this. They say, we'll let you set it to tax equal to that, and we'll also let you carry a 1-year balance. So if something happened, you collected no money at all next year, you could pay 1 more year of your debt. Well, in my former practice and the history of the Joplin district, there aren't really too many people that are interested in running the levy up there so they can collect all that money. We'll have $4 million in the bank at the end of the calendar year. We get our tax money in, we pay in March and September, October,
September.
that we pay those debts. So we're in really good shape. We've had a historical 91-cent levy, even though we could levy $1.32. So the district, I would not recommend that we levy any more than 91 cents. That keeps us in a comfortable position, and it allows you to maintain that approximate $4 million and probably grow it some. It also, there are the bond schedule, the principal payments will increase through the bond schedules, but the district's in good shape with that. So this is for informational purposes, but we would ask you later to set a 91-cent levy there. So if you will go then back to the last page, which is actually, go to the front page, it's right there. This is what we looked at right at the start, because this is what was posted for the purpose of public hearing. And it's really taking the facts that we have given you, and down at the bottom, and I don't know, I'm going to do that, I'll probably hit Jeff in the eye. The district will generate new revenue next year in the estimated amount of $761,000. Where does that money come from? That money comes from the new construction and the increase in personal property. It's not on anything else above that. And then if you see 0, 0, how much are we raising taxes on property that was, upon which property was paid for the last year? How many new dollars are coming based on tax collection from that property? 0. Because the adjustment of the levy is to, in the aggregate, generate as much money as the 275 levy did last year at a greater assessed valuation. We actually had $11 million decrease between the two counties in assessed valuation of existing properties, about 1.5 in Newton County and about $10 million in Jasper County. I've talked to both assessors. I think Newton County, to me, I'd kind of guessed it, and then after talking to the assessor, she and I agreed that she mentioned, and I said, hey, that's what I was thinking too. There's a hotel down there that was pretty nice when they built it 30 plus years ago. And if you go by, there's a sign that says opening soon, or opening in the fall of 2016. Last time I looked at my calendar, we're getting close to the fall of 2017, not too much going on. Part of that hotel was torn down. If you just think about that, let's say it was assessed of a commercial value of $4.5 million, and right now it's sitting there. So really the real estate value is about all they can, because it's not being used. It hasn't productively been used for over 2 years now. And if you really think about it, that's assessed at 32%. And if you just peel that off, that really accounts for most of the decrease in Newton County. I feel pretty good about the Newton County numbers. And talking to the Jasper County Assessor's Office, the explanation they gave me, and in fact, this afternoon I had a long conversation with the Missouri Tax Commission. I said, I got to have course 101 on depreciation schedules, because that was a new term that I'd had, because you think of depreciation schedules on vehicles. State sets that. And everybody in the state of Missouri, if you got the same car, you're going to be assessed on a 5-year-old car of the same type at the same amount. But they don't do it on real estate. And the Tax Commission indicated this is a county-by-county decision based upon information that they get. And Missouri is, we don't have to have a certificate of value in the state of Missouri. If you go buy a car, you're going to walk in and you've got to show what you paid for that car to get your license, and you pay sales tax. But when you buy a house, you don't do that. And so now there are some counties in the state, and basically over in St. Louis, of where they require them to do that. It'd really be easier if they did, because it would be greater equity as far as taxation is concerned, but Missouri doesn't do that. So I'd hate to have the assessor's job. I'm not sitting here saying I could do it better, but it's tough. But they indicated to me the reason for the significant drop this year. And I went back before the meeting and looked at data because I went back 17 years on assessed valuation to see what the trend was. And, you know, you can find some areas in Jasper County and understand, it was understandable beginning with the recession and then the event of 2011, you understand that. But this one, and it's interesting too, if you talk to a realtor today, prices of houses are really good. If you listen nationally, they are now back above what they were pre-recession, but it's all based on what its value was January 1st this year. So it doesn't matter what's happened in April, May, June as far as values. We've got to wait 2 years for potentially that to show up. But they said that there was some depreciation schedule, and that's why I talked to the tax commission, that they really hadn't paid much attention to since 2010, so they went back and basically used that depreciation schedule pretty actively this year, and that was the explanation we got for the 11 million. No one could point to one single place like the old Holiday Inn, but it was just kind of a general reassessment. Does that mean everybody's property went down? Probably not, but it's very doubtful that anybody went up in this reassessment year. I don't know if anybody here got a notice. I didn't get one, and they always give you a notice if it went up. So this is how we came up with that $2.79. That gives another thing just to point out. If you look at the school funding for the state of Missouri, one of the things about this formula that was adopted in 2005, went in effect 2006, is the fact that the local effort, they took great pride under the old formula. If your assessed valuation went up, it used to be you lost it all the next year. Well, then they spread it over 2 years. And I remember talking to some of the senators that worked on that, said we got tired of people talking about having to give that money back, which they did. And Joplin was one that was having to give some money back. So they took great pride in saying your local effort is critically important to the funding of your schools, therefore you don't have to give that money back. And so Joplin is now gaining some assessed valuation over time, and so then the question is, do we want to levy an amount that will allow us to collect in the aggregate an amount equal to what we got last year? The $2.79.29, whatever it is, would do that. So I'd be glad to answer any questions.
Questions?
Can I ask, maybe Dr. Moss, you know this, so that 400,000 that we're talking about, where is that, where would we lose that? Would we lose that in programs? Would we lose that in?
That's all operational.
All operating budget.
Funds 1 and 2, because debt service is it's sitting over there by itself.
So it come right out of operating.
Okay, which is?
Which is where we pay
Teachers,
staff.
salaries, instructional supplies,
You know, if you
all
put,
the other stuff other than our capital thing.
So
If you-
losing that hurts students?
Yeah.
76% of that budget is salary and benefits.
if you put it into perspective, that 700,000 that was on there because of the new assessment, those people haven't paid on those vehicles or on these properties before their first time through, it's $700,000. But in context of the total school budget, it's about 0.75%. So that's, even 700,000 is not a massive amount of new funding. But
And to put it in terms of people in the community, it's $8 on a $100,000
Correct.
assessment,
I've done
approximately.
$12 on 150, so we're right on the nose.
Okay.
For a year.
For a year.
Less
Dollar
than
a
a
month.
dollar a month.
Less
That's
than-
assuming their property held its value.
Right.
But in the process, if yours holds its value and it goes up $8, somebody else's or some
Right.
group of others went down. So when you add it all together,
It's the exact same revenue stream the school had last
Correct.
year as you're suggesting, recommending for
Yes.
this year.
Yes.
Do we know when the last tax rate increase happened?
well, how much history do you want?
Yeah.
Because when you live most of it. Actually, Southwest Missouri has been notoriously low for school taxes over the years. And they have what's called the ceiling levy, and that's really what we're talking about. Next year, our ceiling levy for this current year is 279.29 because we chose to be at 275. Now, when you look at that number next year, you'll be looking at a different number because it will be in the year immediately following the general reassessment year. Well, if you remember back in the 1990s, assessed valuations were going crazy. And they were going up, up, up. And I still remember we ran into the question because in my former life where I was working, we had a ceiling levy in excess of $275. And we levied that amount. We came back and all of a sudden, because the assessed valuation went up so much, if your true assessed valuation goes up on existing property, then your ceiling is calculated down. And the best I can tell in the research that I've done in Joplin schools is 2001 was the last year you levied amount greater than 275. You fell below 275. After that, by law, you had to do it. But the law allows you could actually have an official ceiling levy of $2.30 and still levy 275 because there was a constitutional amendment back in the 90s that allowed you to do that. I will say that this district and a neighboring district with which I was closely attached, we were sued over that issue. Went to Supreme Court. I went to Supreme Court, listened to the argument. And the school districts prevailed because the voters of the state of Missouri had authorized us to do what we did. So it has been like 2001, and always before, it's just where was your ceiling levy? And it appears to me that Joplin was levying at a level of greater than 275. Then in 2010, 10-11 school year, it had nothing to do with the event of 2011. It was about the recession that occurred in 2008. That's when you fell. That's when the assessment went down, and actually the ceiling levy went up above 275. It would have been like 278. It's like 3 cents more that year. And the board, because of the crisis, elected not to raise that levy. And I understand that line of thinking. 2 years then in subsequent years, when the assessments continue to go down, really because now in 2011, if you'll recall, there was a special allowance by executive order, I believe it was, that allowed you, now if you tear a house down and it was on the books January 1st, you're going to pay taxes on that for a year, just like it was. However, because of the situation then, they let people, the day of the event, those just disappeared from the tax rolls. So you went through a period of time of seeing, you had the recession impact of 2008 coupled with that caused the assessed valuation of Joplin schools to go down tremendously. And when they go down on existing property, the ceiling levy goes up. So back to your question, I don't have all the history, but I can tell you, based on what I have found, 2001 appears to be the last year they levied an amount greater than 275. And actually, you had quite a revenue increase if your ceiling fell down because your appreciation went up. If it fell down to $2.60, you got the increase in assessed valuation plus 15 cents on top of that. So those were actually revenue generator years. And I've put together quite a bit of information. I'm just curious about the kind of stuff of what was happening in local revenue during that period of time. And if you look, there was a period of time where local revenue was really strong for the Joplin schools, pre-2006 formula, and that was really good, and that's reflected the year that they got some windfall because the assessed valuation went up. And then this new formula worked very favorably to the district compared to the old formula. So like 2006, 7, that formula really kicked in. So it really gave Joplin an opportunity to make some progress in that decade because of the assessed valuation and then because of the new formula. I told you a lot more than you wanted to know, and I probably just confused you.
I'm sticking with 2001.
All right. Any other questions? Okay, we'll have an action item during the regular agenda. So having heard no more questions, I'll move that we adjourn to regular session.
I'll second.
I made the motion, Derek second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Now we're to the regular session. And just a second, I'll put those out of the way. We'll go ahead and call this meeting to order. Joplin Schools Board of Education, August 22nd, 2017, regular session. Roll call, please, Pat.
Sheriff Dermott.
Here.
Derek Ganger.
Here.
Deborah Gould.
Here?
Brent Wood.
Present.
Jeff Coe.
Present.
Jennifer Martucci.
Yes, ma'am.
Lori Messer.
Here.
Thank you.
Okay, would you all please stand and join me in the Pledge of Allegiance? I pledge
allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
You've got the agenda there before you. We did have one emergency item to add before G1 in the regular agenda. It's a technology purchase that Vince will share with us when we get to that point. So, are there any other requests for alterations to the agenda?
Can I'd just like to hear about the trip to Chicago for the
That's
band.
the
So
band.
5, consent,
Yep,
number
we'll
5.
move 5
Just move that out.
to
Regular.
can we make that 5.5 there? Put it right down there.
After
Keep it on the
accounts
front page.
payable?
Yeah, just
Okay.
to keep it easy. Okay, any other changes? If no, I'd be happy to entertain a motion to approve the agenda as amended.
So moved.
Second.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Deborah. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, the motion passes, thank you. Okay, first thing up, celebrations. We've got quite a few, schools back in session, all right? A lot of parents happy about that, and teachers, I'm sure. We did have a back-to-school gathering of all the staff this year at the high school, and the administrative team put together a nice, let's say, inspiring rendition of a song. It says, Joplin School staff gathered for a great back-to-school bash on Monday, August 14th in the Joplin High School auditorium. The bash began with the band and cheerleaders pumping up the crowd with school spirit. Messages with inspiration and humor were shared by Darren Morgan and Dr. Moss. Administration closed the celebration with a video they produced with the message and the song to the staff. We are back and we are in love with Joplin Schools. So
I think we should play that.
is that,
It was really
we
cute.
Yeah.
should have.
I think we should.
The moment has passed.
Oh, I
It's on
don't think
Facebook.
so.
we will share that through
You can find it on
Facebook.
Facebook.
That might get shared a few
I
times.
think Brad has it.
All right, next up, we did have a health fair, health benefits and retail therapy fair, and that was done, was it here at this facility?
Yes.
It was here at this facility. We had over 500, let's say 400 and something attendees. That was a pretty good showing. 423 staff members attended to take advantage of the free health screenings, information on benefits and area health providers, retail vendors, food trucks for the hungry, and the door prizes for those with some luck. Plans are already being made for this employee event for next year. So,
Was that put on by Freeman, or who was that put on?
Freeman did come. Dorothy Alcins organized the health fair.
There
So it was
were-
the district that put it?
Yeah.
Yeah, the district
Good,
did it, yep.
Good, good.
Yep, there were, let's say, something like 27 different groups there.
There was a lot. It
doing
was a good
sponsor-
crowd.
was it?
Over 70.
Over 70. And there was a 70.
Wow.
70 different.
Lots of health screenings.
Yep, and that's
That's why I
great.
was wondering if Freeman did it.
Yep, yep.
Yeah, they were here.
All right, next up, some of you may have heard that there was an eclipse yesterday. Maybe saw some pictures. We had students across the district had the opportunity firsthand to experience the solar eclipse on Monday, August 21st at 110. Joplin experienced 94%. Teachers throughout the district used the celestial event to plan science lessons that students will not forget anytime soon. And we also noticed that some parents kept their kids out of school that day. But it was an event that each school had their own activities. So, either side. Okay, next up, policy committee.
We met. There are some policies on, quite a few policies on the agenda for first reading. Trying to see. DFA, is that our new one, Dr. Langford? DFA, the
Yes, yes.
revenues for investments. So that's a new one. If you guys want to look at that sort of specifically, we ask that they write that. And what that does is that allows us to, like Dr. Langford was talking at our last meeting, how switching banks, we've found some interest money. And what this would do is this would allow us to invest that money, to earn money on that money, sort of like an Edward Jones kind of thing, or a,
It's authorizing the use of a third-party investment, and really, there's an entity, about $2 billion of school monies across the state are being held. It's very conservative. It has a board that governs it, and it potentially, we could probably pick up another $60,000, $70,000
In interest. Oh, that's
based
great.
on the days, but this is the first reading, so we'll have to do it again
Yeah.
in September.
so that's a new one. The others are changes to ones that we currently have, so.
Great. Finance Salary Benefits Committee?
We also met. I'll
I
take
did
that
not
one.
make it to that meeting. I
Lori wasn't there.
apologize.
So Dr. Langford went over what he just spoke about with the tax levy. And then we also have, and I think it's attached to our, yes, where we have more up-to-date financial statements, and we went over those. Do you want to explain what those are?
I think the financial statements on B, on item 2,
Dr. Moss, okay,
they're on the
Gotcha.
agenda, which we'll go over, yeah.
okay.
Anyways, so we went over those. I think those will, I'm excited because instead of approving April's bills at the end of June, we'll be seeing end of May. I mean, it'll be within a month of our expenditures. And then he's also given us past year information. So as we look at current year, we can see what was last year. And so I think we'll get a better picture of kind of where we're at comparatively.
Definitely.
So,
That's good.
so those are the things we went over in our meeting. It was a very good meeting.
Great. All right. Superintendent's data.
Yeah, health and dental is first, and I'll turn that one over to Dr. Langford as well.
Well, I think you all have the information there on health and dental and just the analysis of it. I mean, basically, the fund, the health fund, which was a year ago, was my understanding of major concern, right now is continuing to, in the summer, sometimes you'll see health go up because people put off things, but actually, we had a little bit more revenue than expenses, and the fund is still about $3.5 million, which for a group this size, it should be more than that, but it's headed right now in the right direction. The dental thing, or the other insurances, again, they're in good shape as far as their fund balance is concerned. Their revenue in the dental care exceeded almost double the expenses for that year, and it has $343,000. So I'll just say, based on the information at the close of the most recent month, that it's trending the way we would like for it to.
That's good.
And then financial statements is where you were going to elaborate on what
Right.
Jennifer started to
You
share.
have one you can put up on the financial. Last month, we had indicated to you that, to me, we, in the month of July, we're giving you 2-month-old reports. So actually, this month, you got June 30th and July. So you won't get two in the future because we're bringing you up to date so that when you, we have a meeting, and I owe a lot to Susan on helping me get the data put together, that you will get all the information that you've gotten in the past. But we've condensed it onto this form that you see on the screen. And actually, the one you're looking at was last year compared to 16. So that's kind of the closeout for the month. And you'll see, and there were some places there where our revenue was 100 and something percent. And, well, that always happens because a budget's nothing more than a guess. And so based on the most recent revision you did of that, that's where we wound up the prior year. And you have a June 30th financial statement. More details, you're getting all the information you got, but we're just trying to put it in this so that you get a snapshot. If you can go to the next one, then. This one, the next one is the one that's as of July 31. And so you're going to be seeing that every month. Down at the bottom, this will be historical information. That number shouldn't change unless something came up in the audit that we would do some kind of a journal entry and have a change. But that's letting you know, this is how we started this year. And so this is always of interest. Well, we know how much we said we're going to receive, how much we're going to spend, but where were we? So I will be honest with you, we didn't lay it across the top because the column widths wouldn't allow us, so we thought, hey, the information at the bottom. But if you look, for instance, we state the budgeted amount that you approved at the June 27th meeting for the FY18 budget. This is how much that we had collected as of that time in revenue by source. And we did break out other, and that scholarship fund and some things like that, and then the health and dental. You know, we wanted that to be a separate line so that you really know those aren't operational dollars. Those are really restricted funds. And then at the bottom, we also have our budgeted expenses. And this is what we've spent and what percentage of revenues have we collected, what percentage of expenses of that budget have we incurred. Now that is good information, but unless, you know, comparison is only good if you have something to which to compare. And that's why we have last year as of the July 31st. This is what the budget was. This is what we had spent, and this is the year-to-date comparison. So we think this will give you, instead of going through the pages and trying to find that information, but anytime you have questions, you're getting that information beyond this, we'd be glad to answer that for you. So you might note that there's a note down at the bottom, and last year there was a refunding of some bonds. So we pulled that out. We do show it down there. If you actually look back at June, it was not pulled out of the one we gave you at the end of the year. Well, that $48 million that we're refunding, which were just nothing more than money was sitting there, and then the call date came up, and we took the money out of the bank and paid off that, and now we're dealing with the bonds. It really gives you it lets you really better look what our operational comparisons are. So be glad to answer any questions, and also if there's something about this you don't like or something, I think it's some good information that just
Very
helps you
helpful.
get
Dr. Langford, I noticed there that on total expenditures from 17 to 18, we've actually reduced the budget by a little over $3 million. Is that accurate for 2018?
On the total expenditures for last year,
For 17 was 99 and change. This year is 96 and change.
and a lot of that has to do with the construction project, I'm assuming,
And debt service.
and debt service.
The
Okay.
principal payment service this year.
Yeah, for 1 year. It was one of those quirky things because of the refinancing.
Okay.
But there's not a material difference in the overall day-to-day operations.
Our revenue's gone up, which is good.
Thank you. This is
By
very
almost about that same amount. Our revenue's gone up by almost that same amount, by $3
Is that
million,
the shift?
which is good.
Well, we ended
Or is that
the
coincidence?
year when
17, I remember.
the audit comes in, you know, the school district is in good financial condition. And to me, that's a critical statement, especially as you look to planning for the future.
Thank you. Looks like a good tool.
Thank you for doing these. This is really,
good. Very appreciated.
really good information.
There's context.
It's good information. And a good way to see it.
Okay, the next up, if there's nothing else, Joplin High School program and curriculum update.
Good evening, gentlemen.
Good evening, everybody.
Hi.
I'm Josh Fuller, freshman principal at the high school. Jeff Brown, I'm the career education coordinator for Graham Tech. And Brandon Davis, principal at the high school. So we're here tonight just to provide a JHS program and curriculum update and kind of talk a little bit how it relates to the district's strategic plan.
So as you see on the student readiness piece and learners at the next level, we're focusing on test taking strategies for assessments, for standardized testing like ACT, EOCs, the ASVAB, and other advanced placement for students. Not only on the assessment piece, but actually on the scores too, and what that actually means for the student.
So indicator 121 deals specifically with 90-90. 90% of our students being here at school 90% of the time. And so that one-to-one competency piece is super important. We want every student at the high school to have an adult advocate. And so that one-to-one competency piece really focuses on building relationships, because if students have somebody to connect to at the high school, we know they want to come to school. And so we put a big focus on that. Also in that, our teachers are having conversations with our students. They're checking their attendance, they're checking their grades, and if they see a concern, they're hooking the student up with a counselor or the grade level principal, so we can add additional supports in place to better help that student.
When we look at weekly gatherings, we have weekly gatherings that are focused on a monthly theme on employability. A lot of our community members are telling us locally and nationwide that students are not, they do not have soft skills when they leave high school. So that is a focus that each student learns the employability piece. And also on the graduation requirements, students are learning the graduation requirements, not just the credit piece, but also what does that mean? So if we go back to the ACT, if I score a certain score, what does that do for my next level of learning? Or if they're taking dual credit courses while they're at the high school.
Interesting enough, too, we were at the medical center today, and they were speaking about like students that have a hard time is the soft skills and some abilities that they're talking about, where students struggle with the basic academics and rote memorization. They've got that down, they can do that, and they've got that, and that's what they're used to. But it's the soft skills and the ability skills that they said they really have to focus on even there as well.
So moving on, once again, preparing learners at the next level, we're looking at the college and career readiness piece. So students are actually filling out, they're researching the colleges, they're exploring, they're figuring out where they want to go, but they're actually filling out college applications and sending them off. They're doing the same for trade schools. We want students to also, if they're going straight to workforce, to be able to fill out a job application, be employable once they leave that door. So it's that next level of thinking there. Also, with going back to the college piece, not just the application, but also they're filling out the FAFSA. So students are actually doing that in school. We actually partner with Missouri Southern and bring a group in, do kind of a FAFSA workshop. But we bring those folks in to help our students prepare for that next piece. We look at goal setting, smart goal setting, where students start self-regulating. We empower them to take control of their goals, what's working, what's not. Let them reevaluate that. Each student's producing a resume. The mock interviews are unique because we have partnered with our community members. We're bringing folks in, businesses, and they actually interview students. Now, this can help on their employability piece, or some of our students are going to medical school. They are going to honors programs that they have to interview for. So once again, that's preparing them for that. Sophomores and juniors are taking practice ACT exams, so all parts. Now, part of that is so students are familiar with what they are doing, the format, the questions. I don't know if you've looked at that, they're scary. So we're trying to prepare students so once they're ready for that, they have as much success as possible. Students are taking the college and technical, I work at Tech, so students are able to come down and look at the tech and some of the opportunities they have there. And then also job shadowing opportunities.
The state of Missouri recognizes 6 career paths, and so you'll see grade 9 there, explore 3 career paths. Examples of those: human services, health science, engineering and technology, communication and art. And so what we want our freshmen to do specifically do is start looking, what's out there, what interests me, and then they're going to start digging a little deeper as they progress. So for instance, at the freshman level, they're looking at what jobs am I interested in. I want to drive this kind of car. Does my lifestyle match the money I'm going to make in this job? And so I think that's important. In addition to that, what colleges offer certifications, degrees, what's required, how much are they, where are they located. And so at the freshman level, we're just getting them to dig in a little bit. As they progress, they're going to start narrowing that focus, refining that plan, and hopefully by the end of their senior year, they got a pretty good idea of where they're going and what they want to do.
So learner support. Josh touched on this earlier, the one-to-one conferencing piece. We want every student to feel like they have a person that they can go to in the building that can advocate for them for whatever that is. So that's the important piece of the one-to-one conferencing. Also to make our high schools huge. We're trying to make that experience seem smaller for those students as well.
And so 212 deals specifically with intervention. And so we have 2 programs, programs I guess you would call them at the high school. First one's GWP, that's guided work practice. So essentially all it is time built within the day where students can work on homework. We know a lot of our students may not have internet at home or they may have jobs. And so it provides that structure within the day for them to do that. In addition to that, at GWP, our teachers are there emailing other teachers. Maybe they missed a day and they're getting them that work for them. Intervention is another program we have where teachers can strategically request students, say out of their biology class, maybe they missed a lab, maybe they're struggling with a specific concept in math. Our teachers can pull them, and it's a very strategic and narrow focus with those students, Tier 2 and Tier 3 mainly, but also Tier 1, and just pull them to give them some additional support in the classroom.
And then, of course, we want all stakeholders in supporting the classroom. We actually asked business partners to come in and talk to students about careers. We also asked them to come in and talk about the academic piece and the application once they actually leave the high school. Why are they taking math? What kind of math is being used? I know firefighters came in one day and started talking to kids about all the geometry and algebra that they're using, and like, oh my goodness, that's why I have to have this class. So we're bringing folks in for the relevance piece of the academics that they're getting. We also host a career day and a college fair. Those are some of the pieces that we ask our community to join us in. And the communication plan we'll talk about that in just a little bit.
On indicator 232, deals specifically with technology impacting learning. So as you all probably know, the district has a digital citizenship initiative, K through 12, and the high school is a part of that initiative. So we're offering monthly lessons at the high school that really just teach students social etiquette, how to properly use social media, and really discuss with our students the impact of their decisions now and what impact they can have if they make poor decisions. And so that's a big focus for us.
Okay, so success indicators. We definitely want students to feel like they're in a safe and nurturing environment. That's going back to the one-to-one piece and the go-to person for students. So as a student builds that relationship with an adult, they have that advocate to connect them to whatever resources they may need, whether it's a physical or emotional resource. This is how a lot of students get referred for Bright Future needs, for example. This is also the piece that we are being able to identify at-risk students early. What's unique about high school is at-risk students can happen anytime for a lot of reasons. So that's one of the pieces here.
So everything we've talked about is just a piece of the program we call transitions.
So as we look at this program and kind of the continuous growth piece and always trying to get better and figure out what's best for Joplin High School and the students in our community, we rely on feedback. This is some student feedback that we received last year. All students were surveyed. We had 1,200 of them that applied. So 92% of students felt like guided work practice was used in a positive way, so they felt valued in that. 93% of students said that they have a trusted adult in the building, so we are building those relationships, but need to continue to do so. 77% of students indicated they built relationships within their transitions class. This is unique because of the creating community piece. That class is an intentional mix. So a lot of times students will tell us, I wouldn't talk to this guy if he wasn't in my class. So this is getting them prepared to have interactions with students or with people when they get out in the community that they don't normally talk to necessarily. And 77% of students received academic advisement, so they are receiving guidance through the process of their high school experience.
So much like Jeff mentioned with the student feedback, we surveyed teachers as well, all 120 transitions teachers. Out of those 120, 93 teachers replied to the survey. As you can see, 99% of teachers felt that they built relationships within that transition class. And so they're having those conversing moments, they're having those conversations to talk with those students. 98% of the teachers indicate they gave academic advisement during transition, so they're helping them during GWP and that competency piece. There is a disconnect here you'll see. 76% of teachers indicated that GWP was used positively by students. 93% of students that felt they used it positively. So there's a little disconnect there, you can see that. 99% of teachers indicated that they were able to talk one-on-one with that student in their transition class, as we mentioned, is so important for the academic attendance and both the physical and emotional pieces for the students. And so based on all of our feedback, We've made a few changes this year and updates for actually the year we're in now. And so the intervention piece, students and staff both had a strong desire to increase the amount of intervention time within transitions. That's not an increase of transitions time, but a reallocation of time within the transitions. And so we have, last year was 29 minutes, and so this year we've increased that to 47 minutes per week.
We also identified a need to develop a communication plan. So part of that is getting the information out, what we are doing in transitions out to the community and all stakeholders involved. So one piece of that is a monthly newsletter that will be put on the Joplin High School website for everybody to see. The big events, we will utilize Facebook, possibly dial and get the information out. The parent contact, that's interesting. So every parent will be contacted at least three times within the school year. We also want parents to feel like they have an advocate within the school for their child. So once again, the high school is a big place, so that's part of connecting that piece with parents. We want parents to be involved. We want to invite them to the parent-teachers conference, and we need their input.
The parent contacts too, it's really the positive phone calls. And so that'll be somewhere in the neighborhood of 6,000 positive phone calls made out. It's just a way that we're reaching out to parents to let them know, hey, we want you involved, we want you involved in our school. Starting off with a conversation about, hey, I'm Brandon Davis, I'm your student's transitions teacher, and this is what we're going to be doing, and I want to be your go-to person. And if you have any questions, here's my time period, here's my email, please contact me. And then right around parent-teacher conferences, because the parent-teacher conference attendance at the high school is poor. I mean, you guys have been there, you guys have seen it. So we want to try to increase those numbers, and what better way than just us really reaching out to them.
The teacher externship piece is pretty exciting. We have some teachers that volunteer at the high school. We have some local businesses that have volunteered as well. Empire, Tamco, and Modine Marketing have partnered with JHS teachers. And so our teacher volunteers are going to go into those businesses and meet with the CEO, anywhere from the CEO down to the frontline managers. And we talked about those soft skills that employers and across the country tell us are deficient. And so our teachers are going to go there, talk to those managers, and just see exactly what skills are needed for our graduates to be successful in the workplaces. And our teachers are going to come back, and we're going to incorporate that into the lessons and into the curriculums to hopefully produce a better product and make our students more successful when they get a job in high school.
It's also a great way for teachers to learn what math, what science, or whatever content or whatever area they teach, how it's being used in the real world, and bring it back to for the relevance piece for the students. When we look at effective use of learning time, here's the thing. There's a lot of interruptions in high school. So we are utilizing the transitions time for class meetings, for example. Jostles, they come and talk about caps and gallons or classrooms. They're trying to eliminate waste and eliminate interruptions of academic time, whether it's in content or whatever class it is. So we're utilizing the program as much as possible to eliminate any of that. Now the feedback, we're going to continue, and this is the update on how we're getting feedback. So we're going to continue with the student and teacher survey, but we really need to hear from parents. We need to hear they're some of the biggest stakeholders in our game, so we need to hear from them. What's working well, what are your recommendations? And then what I'm really excited about is we have a 20-student panel. We haven't selected students yet, it'll be a random selection. We'll have a 20-student panel of all grade levels 9 through 12. So students have a voice with the continuous growth piece.
And to add on that, I mean, the bottom line is, we're all familiar with the PDSA model, and so we're just trying to get better at what we're doing. And so we're going to add, ask some pointed questions to teachers and parents to see, is it working? What do we need to change? How can we improve? And that's our focus for the year.
I have a couple of questions. So one of my concerns about this is that our teachers are not trained social workers. I mean, they're not trained to identify these special needs, and are they trained in where to refer kids? And do our new employees, and we have a lot of brand new teachers, do they understand what it means to be a mandated reporter?
Yeah.
all of that concerns me, that we're putting that on teachers who are an English teacher or a math teacher. I mean, are they trained to see those things in these kids and get them to the right place?
We allocate, on our meeting days, we allocate time for those one-on-one conferences and to really train, because I think it's important. If we're going to do it, we're going to do it right. And whether they have a transitions class or not, they're still a mandated reporter. And the ability, they have to be able to recognize that we go over that and go over that information about here. So you talk to the counselors. Matter of fact, the counselors, we had new teacher meetings, and I had one day I had 2 hours with them, and the counselors came in and visited with our new teachers about, hey, here's how we do things, and if there's, hey, what's appropriate to email me a concern, or what do we need to, hey, get on the phone and get me down here now, this is a concern. And so we do talk to them about that, work with them about that, do that.
And I appreciate your question, and what I'd like to add on that is, once again, they're an advocate, so they get information. A lot of times as a teacher, and until last year I was a teacher, if I had an issue with a student, I would contact the principal of the grade level principal, because they are trained in those areas. And so those resources are there as well.
Okay.
And then the new teacher training too, we have folks that focus on the transitions piece during the TOPS training.
And I think it's important to remind everyone that annually, everybody reviews the mandated reporter training. And we sign off of that through HR. So I went through it again this year. Everybody does.
Okay, I mean, because that's.
Can I add to that real quick? So you're telling, the counselors are staying in touch with these teachers during transition so they can keep them up to date of what's being told to them? I mean, is that what you're saying?
So one unique thing about this is we are not, as teachers, we are not wanting to be counselors.
Right.
And the counselors do not want us to try to do their job. So what counselors are doing is they're giving information through transitions, through the committee that's developing the lessons. So if there's a lesson on a FAFSA, it's coming from the counselors.
Okay.
So that information is being filtered through the counselors to the teachers to get the information out to students. Once again, I don't know what the student-to-counselor ratio is. I think it's 500 to 1. So it's pretty tough for a counselor to get to every, I mean, we know that. We also use the times for counselors. So class meetings, principals this year are going in transitions classes. Josh started today, and he's meeting with every class to make it more personable with every freshman. So principals are doing that. Counselors are doing that as well. Now, I'm not sure where they're focusing. I know like ninth graders today when they're starting their tours in the library to get in-depth opportunity to see what they can gain from going to the library. So those are some of the things. I don't know if I answered your question.
Okay, another thing that I've heard is that that 96-minute period, that the kids are engaged for about the first 20 minutes and the rest of it is just a waste of time. So that's just way too much time for that in that day. Is there a way, could we do something that was almost like a home room, so they saw them every day, and that's where they started their day, they touched base, that's just one thing I've heard from my own kids, that's just way too much time.
And a 96-minute period one thing that I noticed last year was what we focused on throughout whether it was in transitions class, math class, science class, social class, was time waste within that 96-minute period, really focusing on build-to-build learning. And that was across the board that we need to get better at. We identified that early, worked on that as far as, we want kids engaged from build-to-build. And a 96-minute period is something that we did look at. We remember looking at trying to improve that every single step. We came up with a couple different schedule options last year of how it could change and what we could look at to maybe this would change that 96-minute period. And the overall consensus is we want to keep the schedule the same the way it was. And I understand that on one level because the high school has had so much thrown at them in the last 4 years and so many different schedule changes that teachers have a strong desire to let's get good at what we're doing now. And let's before we throw stuff out and start changing bell schedules again, because bell schedules changed multiple times and has different. We're just getting used to it, and give us a chance to learn how to do it, and let's get better at it as we go on. So that was some things, I mean, because I was really looking at possibly changing the bill schedule. And I got a lot of information out, talked to the steering committee, talked with individual teachers, and the consensus was they wanted to keep it the same. They wanted to keep the bill schedule where it was at. And I talked to everybody, and, but I was real critical coming in, looking at that, at the transitions class, and that was one thing that I came in after, that I wanted to identify and put some pressure on the transitions committee about how we're going to improve it and what we're going to do to make things more engaging. But it's going to go with some training, but no doubt the 96-minute period it's a long period. We're trying to break it up with the addition of taking in that 96-minute period, 47 minutes of those can be interventions where it wasn't before that. Options where, say, if the math department wants to create a lab, they can empty out a couple transitions classes during that time and bring in 10 or 12 kids for an RTI time with target intervention. They have that ability, or the ELA department has the ability to do that. So we're looking at different options to get that, to improve that. But it is, I agree with you, it's a long time.
It is.
So that was where the intervention time was added, to break up that 96-minute.
That's-
Because of teacher feedback and student feedback.
So that's the 47 minutes came out of the 96-minute period.
Correct.
And I have to say tonight, listening to you guys talk about the learner support goal and the strategic plan, hearing terms Tier 1, Tier 2, Tier 3 intervention, which we know is part of RTI, this is the first time I've heard that related to high school. We hear it more at the elementary and middle school level, so kudos to you for using that terminology and actually putting an operational RTI program into the high school. I'm eager to watch it, so.
I think one piece of that, just to add, that feedback piece is important. And so we're constantly going to be looking at it. Like I said, we're going to ask pointed questions, and some of that probably is going to be on time. And so just gathering that data for improvement, that's our goal.
How do you get that other 25% of the teachers that are not responding to respond?
I think it's building trust.
I think that's-
Something that we've been working on, and something that I think building trust that, hey, they can, just for instance, I told them, I want to be their person. They can come into my office, shut the door, and bin it and forget it. Or they can come in, I want them to build trust that they can come, if they have complaints or issues, they can bring it to my desk, but also that they also feel comfortable to really give their honest opinion in those surveys. And, we can't see who gives the responses anyway, but same thing, we send out our principal surveys, and they're very targeted, they're very honest about how we did our job, and one of the things that our targets was communication, and that's where we need to improve that. And so I think that trust issue is something that we're building gradually at the high school, and it's going to get there, but it takes action on our parts to prove that they have our trust and to get that. So
I think to add to that too, the intervention piece was something that we tried to do from the beginning, couldn't fit it to how it was going. And certain teachers were adamant about the intervention. And this year I'm excited to see, because some of the teachers that maybe weren't supporting transitions because of that piece, personally come up to me and said, thank you for continuing to listen to us and fight for that piece. So I think as the trust builds, knowing that the program's for all, it's not something we're planning.
Well, can I ask, that you said that those pull-out times are things that they can do. Are those things that they are doing, though? Not just that they can do, but are they actually doing them?
Last year, they did take advantage of that, and we had a system set up, but that was for a 29-minute period.
29.
So,
We had about, well, I'm just guessing here, 50 to 60 students requested in that intervention time most weeks. EOC time, that kind of thing, it was anywhere up to 200 to 300 students. And so,
So
you
the
know,
kids
and
have
a lot
to
of
ask
students,
to
a lot of
be in
teachers,
it?
go ahead.
I'm sorry, the kids have to ask to be in it, or the teachers?
Teachers request that.
Teachers
Students
request
can
that
ask.
student to come in, okay.
And I think an important piece of that, and that goes back to the request, we had a lot of teachers wanting to pull for labs or pull for tests and things like that. That 29 minutes was not enough to pull in for a test or something like that. And so, once again, that's why they requested the extra time. And so now we have it full set.
If it's working great, students are asking. That's where we want to get to, and say, hey, I need to go work on this skill, I need to come to your room. That would be, we'd have a lift if we got to that level.
Do you guys do study skills
Yes.
in there?
Yes.
Is that something I begged for my kids and never got?
Time management?
Yeah,
Okay.
time management,
So,
yeah,
yes.
study.
I think the difficulty thing is our smart kids come home and say, what did you do today? I didn't do anything. And we don't hear about these things.
Yeah.
And that's what gets communicated, and so I appreciate you guys trying to reach out to the parents and to talk to them, because until I saw some of these things, you know, I believe my kids. Sure. I don't mean it like that, but, you know, that they didn't feel like they were getting
Yeah.
anything out of the day, but if they're building their resume, or they're doing mock interviews, or they're doing things that maybe they're not gonna get at home, somebody's gonna teach them. And I'd
that's why
rather
I'm
it be.
excited on the student
Yeah.
panel, you know,
Yeah.
the student voices there.
Yeah.
I mean, because honestly,
We've been
what
missing that.
what I hear is that kids are watching YouTube videos a lot during transitions time. That's what I get.
Sure.
So we need to stop
I'm sorry,
that.
Vince,
If
we're not
that,
gonna
if
get that
that's
technology approved for you.
Yeah. I know.
Come soon.
No, sorry. But and then my last thing is for those parent-teacher conferences. I know when my kids have been out for 2 years, but or a year, but the coaches were usually gone in those. So, and my kids, you know, a lot of the teachers that are coaches. It'd be nice if they weren't assigned to different things on parent-teacher conference nights. I mean, I know it might be kind of hard, but those are, and so when I would go, I would maybe hit 3 of my kids' teachers because the others were coaches. And so if we're trying to get parents there, it might be nice to have more of the teachers there. Just a suggestion. Not I guess it is criticism, but I don't mean it to be mean. I'm just saying that that's something that as a parent I experienced, so. All right, thank you.
I just had one thing. One of my questions, and this is only because of experience that I had with the school district in Kansas that I was on a committee with, because it's difficult for the teachers. I know they're so busy trying to get them off of the school site to meet with these business owners or business people to help in these soft skills, is maybe forming a committee that can come in to the school and meet with them. Instead of making it's a suggestion, just because I actually learned a lot of what I wanted, as a business, running a business, what I was looking for, and I was able to relay that to them so that when their kids graduated, they could come into a business that they had. You didn't have to have college education because it's a learned job. It's not one you can prepare for. So just a suggestion to look at, because as a business owner, or not an owner, but that I run a business, I would go and help with that. So I think it's something to think about.
Thank you. Thank you, guys. Appreciate it. Good job. Public comments? No public comments? Consent agenda? We did pick item 5 and pull it out. I'd make a motion that we approve the consent agenda as amended. I'll second. I made the motion. Derek second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, that motion passes. Next up, Vince. Point 5, the technology purchase emergency item. No, it's emergency item.
Vince Crossley's here from our IT department, as well as Adam Bell from our IT department. Adam's at the high school. Vince is here, and they're going to tell you everything you need to know about why we need to get this going, so we can make sure that our district internet service is safer and secure than what we've been experiencing and be functional. Go ahead, Joel.
Right, so I'm Adam Bell, one of the technology specialists at Joplin High School, and Eric's current health situation asked me to step in and speak with you this evening. I don't know exactly, the June or July board meeting, we came to you and asked for you to approve the purchase of the Untangled web filter. We'd had a trial of that filter that we started running in June during summer school at Joplin High School, which covered the middle school and high school summer school programs. And we got a real good taste for that web filter. Liked the way that it configured, liked what it allowed us to block and unblock, the scalability of it, as far as being able to segment teachers and students for different levels of internet access. We tested it out, worked great during summer school, continued testing throughout the month of July and at the beginning of August. We're happy with it. One thing that we were unable to test was network load. We are just not, there's no way for us to test in the summer with a small group of summer school students what load our teachers and students put on our network and on the internet when they come back. The first day of school, it became obvious what that load was. And we were not in great shape, and we've been struggling since then. So in a nutshell, Untangled has such overhead running on the server that we had it running on, that it just could not keep up. Our events, every request to that server for the first few days, we're running events roughly about 26 minutes behind, something like that.
Up to an hour and a half behind even recording logs. Just
Right.
overwhelmed.
It required so much server. Panicked, tried to do everything we could. Eric ran to Springfield, got us a loaner server. We took one from Mr. Bradfield's class. Vince and Will pieced those together and got us up and running that first night. Second day, we came in thinking we felt pretty good about this temporary piece, and those servers could not keep up either. So we started looking at Untangled, what is it going to take to make this run not great, just satisfactory? Will started specking out that server to see what it would take. $40,000, he quit building the server. It's unbelievable the amount of horsepower that Untangled wants to be able to run and run sufficiently. So it is not a good solution for us. Securely is a web-based solution. Unlike Untangled is it's a hardware-based local solution. Still software-based, but it is local on some hardware. Requires our servers to run it. Just isn't running well. Securely is web-based. A lot of web-based stuff we try to steer away from because they use up our internet bandwidth. Securely handles things a little bit differently. Since it's a content filter, we're just passing our traffic on through them. They're taking care of the hardware piece. There's no hardware that we have to purchase for this. It's all software. We basically just direct our traffic to Securely, and they start managing everything for us. We looked at Securely back whenever we purchased Untangled. It was one that we would have liked to have had. We'd like to have purchased it at that time. Dollars just didn't make sense. It just was not in our budget to do. And that's the reason we went with Untangled at the time. Now we're learning that our students and our staff are not getting the service that they should get and that they deserve, and we've got to do something different. Right now, we are running bare bones, where we filter basically adult content, Vince.
Yeah, very little more.
Very little more. Not a whole lot of web filtering going on right now. We need to protect ourselves and protect our students. And it's imperative that we do something and we do it quickly. And Securely, we believe, is the answer. There's a lot of people in Jamf is, most of you are probably familiar with Casper. That's a software service from Jamf Software that we buy into that helps us manage our Macs. They have a big user conference every year, and several of the large Mac schools up there use Securely. They've been very happy with it. Independence, Missouri, Kansas City, Kansas, and Lee Summit all run Securely. Very large districts, very large Mac presence. We reached out to them. They've been very happy with it. They've been running for several years. It handles their traffic, and they're much larger than we are, and we believe that it's the right solution for us at this time.
It's also very quick and easy to implement. So we can offload something that's very difficult for us to do in-house, very computing intensive, offload it onto their system as a service that we subscribe to on an annual basis, and it will relieve the pressure on the hardware that we have so they can do its job properly to protect the other side of the equation, protecting threats that try and come into the district from outside of the public web. We want to take off the two functions that we were trying to do with one system, one to protect the outside threats coming in, and the other to monitor the traffic going out to make sure we were doing things that we were supposed to be doing in the classrooms. So we want to offload and divide those into two different things, using the existing hardware we have to protect the outside threats, and then to provide a Securely subscription service so that we have somebody assisting us to monitor this outbound traffic and what the students are asking to see.
Yeah, another nice piece that Securely gives us that our parents have been asking us for 6 years since we began one-to-one is Securely will allow us to filter internet access at home. So we can help parents out with that. We can help kids stay off websites. That they
You could have led
shouldn't be
with
on
that.
at home. And that's just a nice bonus. Securely. And as far as the implementation, I think we're looking, pending approval tonight, getting the PO together, I think about a week and a half we can be up and running.
What was the cost of the Untangled?
Untangled cost us roughly $6,000. We've reached out to our sales rep there. We purchased this 6 weeks ago. It's not working. We've reached out to our sales rep requesting a refund. That sales rep is out until the 26th of August, so we're waiting to hear back from them.
Okay, so we may be able to get a refund on that.
I'm sure we should be able to.
And then this, other last question, if we chose for some reason to not continue with Macs, we've talked about going to Chromebooks or different things, would this work just as effectively? Because you said the other school districts have a large Mac presence.
This
does
is-
that matter, or is
This
this?
is
a-
multi-platform, Windows, Mac, Chromebooks,
Okay,
everything.
okay.
There's no software piece on the computers. We're just directing our traffic to another site before we hit the internet.
19,000.
So how much?
This is 19,000, with a 3-year subscription, it knocks down to 19,000 a year. They offer a 5-year plan that saves us a little bit of money, but history tells us let's not reach out in 5 years. 3 years is significant savings. It's worth making that investment to get the discount. 5 years, I don't believe that we should do that until we're in, we're running, and we see that everything is as they say.
Okay.
Do we already have this in the technology budget?
Nope. We're going to make room. It's something we have to do, and that's why we didn't buy it in July. That's why we went with Untangled, so we don't have room in the budget. But it really comes down to, we replace our student machines at the high school every 4 years, looking at stretching that to 5. Our teachers, we try to stay on a 4 to 5 year rotation. But what we fail to realize is that our server farm, that is the brains of our operation, sitting at Roy Wood in our data center, those servers are 7, 8 years old. They have not been replaced, and we do not have the budget for it. We're going to have to address that at some point as well.
Yep. All right. Any other questions?
Where's the money coming from then?
Just have to look at reallocation. We've
Yeah.
heard from Ron ways that we're saving money
Would
and
this be like
generating
operating
revenue.
or
And we've
capital
got
projects?
Yeah,
or-
the only thing is, a budget is a best guess.
Yeah.
And $12,000 increase to the budget, they may be able to find it there. If not, that's why you will get budget adjustments once or twice a year. We have to make adjustments to accommodate the needs of the district.
And this is not a want, this is a have to.
This
We
is
do
a
not have a
need.
choice right
Yep.
now. We need to do something,
Yep.
and we really need to step up and spend the money and buy the right piece of software instead of trying to get by with inadequate stuff.
Well, we need to protect our students. so I'm
Absolutely.
with
Well,
that
E-rate
we-
demands that we have an adequate
And the
filter.
student data.
I move that
Right.
we make this purchase.
Child Internet Protection Act
I'll second.
requires that we block and allow access to certain things. I cannot tell you tonight that we are meeting those requirements.
Okay. Lori has made the motion to approve as recommended, and Jennifer seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Personal thanks to Vince and Eric for staying up 24 hours to get things running for the school. Appreciate that.
Go get some rest.
Thank you. Next up, item 1, prime contract change order number 7.
Okay, Dave Pettit and from our Joplin schools, and Aaron Heights here from Crossing Construction, and we're going to talk about the variations of this change order. Details.
Well, first of all, let me say something that I hope brings an air of excitement to our meeting tonight. A year from now, we will have students in a new Joplin Early Childhood building, which I think will be fantastic. So, if they get finished on time.
Absolutely. No pressure.
What we're bringing tonight is a change order number 7, which is going to be reflected as we look at our numbers here in just a moment. A few of those things are addition of a roof hatch, which will help us to maintain the building and have access to the roof from the interior of the building, and that's a great addition for our maintenance staff. Gypsum fur out we had where the safe room wall met the cap, the concrete cap to that was very unsightly, and so we've furred that. We'd like to fur that out and cover that with drywall to make that more conducive to the aesthetics of the building. Kitchen adjustments, those are some changes we'd like to make. The kitchen space itself will not be conducive to a fully operational kitchen, but in working with Rick at Food Service, we want to make some additional plumbing, gas, and electric, and some storage changes to that room to allow it to be at least a minimal place where some food preparation can take place, and also will be accessible as they bring in breakfast and lunch from Irving Elementary. Exterior lighting requirements, those came about due to a city request that we light the exterior exits, which are, in technical terms, are not exits, but they requested that of us, and so we're doing this to comply with that. Overhead door power, there was an oversight look in the safe room itself. We have windows and the doors. The doors are wind rated for an F5 tornado, but the windows will have an overhead door, essentially a large-scale garage door that will cover in all 4 of those rooms. And so power needed to be run to those so that they could service that function. The electrical panel, it's getting a little tight with all of the, as you just heard from the technology guys, and all of the things that we have in there, the electric, the plumbing, that come into one head-in room. A little tight. It originally was designed for 2 electrical panels. We've decided to help condense that. We're going to go to one larger single electrical panel, but there is a cost incurred with that. So the total of that PCCO number 7 is $27,186.80. And as you see reflected up there, can you go back to the previous slide? Contingency budget as of the end of July was $271,715.04. With the adoption of tonight, next slide, $244,528.24 with contingency. We are approximately 63 to 64% completed, so almost 2/3 completed with the project. As far as the timeline goes, things are going very well, and would anticipate maybe some occurrences of some more change orders, but they're going to be more along the line of these minimal design changes.
Questions? Thank you, gentlemen. No questions. Entertain a motion for approval of that item. Second. So I made the motion apparently, and Derek second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, it's approved. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Aaron.
Next up, asbestos abatement.
Okay, in this building, we have tiles all over the building, as you know. We have areas that have been used, especially after the tornado. And Dave wants to talk to you a little bit about what's in the Memorial Gym area.
While not as enjoyable to discuss with you as the Joplin Early Childhood Project, we are asking for an abatement of floor tile and floor tile mastic on the mezzanine area of the gym in this building. We have some water damage that we've sustained there, as well as some damage that took place due to its previous use as a weight room on that mezzanine. We would like to abate that entire area at, we actually quoted just the damaged areas, and it was a very minimal change to just go ahead and take care of the entire area. We're looking at working with ROTC especially to set up in that area for a soft gun range for them to use. They don't have a large enough chunk of building where they're at now, but this will be a fantastic use. And by abating this, we're done with that particular area. It can be usable for many different things, and will make it viable as an option for us without any risk to our students.
Any questions?
I do have a question. Not pertaining to this particular one, but have all of our buildings been checked for asbestos? And
All of our
everything's-
buildings, they're checked every 6 months by our asbestos certified personnel, and then every 3 years, we have an outside company come in and do an asbestos inspection.
So everything's been taken care of that needs to be?
Yes.
And this is something we need to do?
We are going to have to do the abatement at some level. It makes more sense economically to take care of the entire area at one time and take care of that. It was more cost prohibitive because of the way they have to lay out the containment for small areas and build those larger, they can build a larger containment, essentially enclose that entire area and abate that at what I would consider a relatively small cost.
We need to do the smaller area.
Yes, we do need to do the abatement.
But, okay.
When this comes out of capital outlay, we'll adjust the budget.
We will, our hope is we can save money over the cost of the capital outlay budget this coming year, but it may incur a budget adjustment at the end of the year.
You asked for room 100. Is that part of that area, or is that a separate area?
It's actually a separate area, again, in this building that has had a small amount of damaged tile, and so we brought it in. It needed to be done as well, and it makes more sense when our asbestos abatement companies charge you a mobilization fee. And so by having them come and take care of any other small needs that we may have at this time, it makes it more cost effective for us, since we had such a small, I believe it's about 25 square feet.
Okay, so that's not somebody's office or anything, there's not somebody currently in that space, is
Currently in
there?
a break room.
Okay, but employees go in there and?
Yeah, there's no risk at this time, but it does need to be taken care of.
I'm in there.
There's only a
Well, it's
list
just
from
you,
here.
Steve. That makes a lot of sense.
All right. Do I hear a motion to approve the abatement?
So moved.
All right, Jennifer made the motion,
I'll second.
second by Brent. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes, that's approved. Thank you, guys. Next up, marketing services for FTC adult programs.
Yes, and Mark Lynch, director of our Franklin Tech Center Adult Education Program, is here tonight to answer any questions about the proposal for adult marketing.
Yeah, this is a contract that was okay last year. It's the second year of a 3-year contract. And then next year will be the third year, and we'll start the RFP all over again. We're looking to cut costs even for next year, see if we can kind of get those dollar figures down.
Is this more than what was last year?
This is for the entire, when we did the contract with Storm Stanley, they would do so much of it. You can never tell the cost of TV, radio, or digital ads. That was just an unknown cost, because you buy that as you go. And we've added a little more to it, because we do spend money like through the high school, doing like the yearbook and with the stadium and helping with calendars and things. So we try to add more money to help that.
So is this price just for this year, or is it the full 3 years?
It's just for
Just for this year?
Is it working?
Yeah, that was my question.
It does. Some of this money was meant because the way we close out at the end of the year, there's some bills from last year that get thrown over. So instead of digging into this year, we try to have some extra funds to pay the last year's.
Yeah, I get a little bit nervous when I read it and see that, it does not include the cost of the ads and things like that.
We tried, they will not give you an estimate.
And so that's why I go back to the experience that you had with it last year, whether or not it's A, working, and B, affordable. Is it, okay.
Do you have the idea? We look at 3 bids. I think last year there were 3 bids, and this one was significantly less.
Lower.
I thought it was around 70,000 or
It is.
72.
They say entire, when we do the contract for Storm County, it was 60,000
Okay.
each year, but then we'd add some more to pay for some of
Some
the in-year
content.
bills and other things we do, because we try to keep the name out there, because we have competition. And you said the money we draw in doesn't come from, it's what we generate.
Right.
So we just want to keep ourselves out there, because WTI,
Yeah.
some of the other schools kind of.
Absolutely.
And it's from your budget, you're not asking
Right.
us for extra?
No, this
No.
comes from our,
Yeah.
what we generate.
We just need to approve it.
I'm going to move that we approve as requested.
All right. Motion by Sherrick, second.
I have one more question.
You go right ahead.
I'm just curious how much, since this was year 2, how did the revenues increase from last year's purchase?
Well, it gets more students in.
I mean, if we spend 70,000 and we only increase our revenue by 50, then then I would have a concern
Well, I
with
know
that. So
you would, I have to look at the actual dollar figures. I
Okay.
know we have.
Okay, I didn't mean to put you on the spot, I'm sorry.
Well, student count-wise, it grows. This system they use with using more social media, it pops, and it's amazing how much they use, I guess they call that CMR, customer.
CRM.
CRM.
Customer relationship.
Well, it hits my instructors or my coordinators, then we can go at talk to those students. It's kind of like a funnel. We get them into it. We have to get their email address so we can keep talking to them and kind of pull them in.
So you feel comfortable you can spend $80-some thousand and generate 2, 3, 4, 5 times that amount? Okay, awesome.
Okay, that's all.
I can
Any other
tell you-
questions?
I was going to say, for the last 8 years, and we've generated like $1.7 million in service.
We do very well.
Yes.
Wow.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that passes. Thank you. All right, we're right at 90 minutes. We can take a short break, or we've got 6 more items to go. Anybody need?
Barrel through.
I drink a bit. If I could just a potty break,
Let's
2
take-
minutes.
Let's
If we could
take
just
a
have
5
two.
minutes break.
I just need two.
Kind of one of the standing rules, so here, take 5.
Thank you.
Yeah, we drink too much.
It was. That man has got to stop.
I don't know, but
I don't know that you
This time allocated. Now, Ron, this is the brief for what we're talking about next time. Okay, I'm just making sure. Well, you get excited, you get excited.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just, he wants to share. Well. The simple truth is you could have said that last year, adjusted or maintained our tax base. Because we have a lower property value.
I feel like he's trying to sell the property.
I know he is.
I mean, that's what he's
He's, because we're going up to a level we haven't been at since 2001, I guess. So he wants to go away from or not raise.
That's fine. Totally get it.
But
He could have wrapped there. Yeah, no worries, no worries. And let's get my cell phone on. So. is next.
Ron is prepared.
All right.
Even though he needs to do that, he did really need that.
So next up, Dr. Moss, proposed early childhood education naming
Yes,
committee.
the board presented names, and so we now need to formalize the adoption of that committee.
Okay, and the names there were given by the board, and we've included everything that is in the policy FF that says somebody that works there.
Right.
A student, and
Community member.
Well, and a community member, yeah, community member. So we've covered all that. Any questions?
I would move that we approve the proposed naming committee for the Joplin Early Childhood.
I second it. I'm sorry.
Wow,
That's
okay.
right.
All right.
They're in a hurry.
Everybody's ready now. We're away. Sherrick and Derek.
Well, let's share it.
Okay, I'll do.
All right.
Debrick.
Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. All right, great. So that motion passes. So when that committee gets together, they're going to go through that policy on naming, and they're going to talk about, you know, what we have a policy if they're not. No, we don't. They'll go through that policy, and there's also some guidance from MSBA about naming statutes and stuff. Statutes. So next, moving on.
Right.
Yeah.
Are we approving expenses for the band trip in these?
In the accounts payable?
No.
I'm not sure,
No?
there's nothing in there yet.
Okay, I was just see if we were,
Yeah,
if
want
we
to
were, then
approve the-
discuss
yeah.
that first, but, okay.
Yeah,
all right.
no, I don't think there's anything
No,
in there
these are just
really.
routine payments.
Okay.
Be glad to
Yeah.
answer any questions.
No, it's a good point.
No, I
You would
just was
rather approve
wondering-
it, approve of the
rather
trip
have the
before you pay the money.
information. Right,
Yeah,
yeah.
No.
makes sense. All right, number 5, accounts payable.
I'd just be glad to answer any questions. You have the information. It's all routine.
I'll move that we approve accounts payable as presented.
I second it.
Sherrick and Deborah. All right, please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Now, this is where we inserted the JHS band trip to Chicago.
Yes.
I believe we have some I guess, conductor in the audience.
Yes, Mr. Watson.
Great big program.
He's here.
Is that Brandon?
That is not me. It would be in that band. If that was the case, our band would be in trouble.
All right. So share with us, what's on the agenda here?
On the agenda is a proposed trip to Chicago to work first with the Vandercook School of Music faculty, in particular Dr. Charles Mangini, who is the president emeritus. Done a little research on Vandercook, and they have over 300 students. It's a small school, being a specialized school. Their only program is a bachelor's and master's of music education. So, I mean, I think it'd be a very good opportunity for our students. We perform in the Museum of Field and Natural History, as well as the Navy Pier with our color guard. We've got a lot of variety of sightseeing opportunities they're going to have.
Is it during spring break or during school?
It's during spring break. It's going to be the first, I believe the first Saturday of spring break, and return on Tuesday of spring break, so then they'll still have time for the rest of the spring break for family and that kind of stuff.
And the band boosters are raising money for this?
The band boosters as well as the students.
How many chaperones?
It's going to all vary on the number of students. When we took the trip to Washington DC, we had 75 students. We had one chaperone for every 6 students.
Oh, okay. No, that was great.
And the chaperones pay their way. Oh, wow.
Thank you. I just wanted a little more.
Well, Chicago's a great city, and I hope they have a great time.
Yeah.
So-
I
live there.
I could.
Oh, did you live there?
What an exciting
It's a
thing.
fantastic place.
I could chaperone if we need any additional.
Yeah, people volunteer everywhere.
Oh, yeah.
Sounds like you've arranged a great trip for the kids.
Yeah, I mean, the itinerary's planned, buses are on hold, hotels on hold. We're just waiting on approval so we can
Well,
start.
let's give you one. Derek has made the motion,
I'll second.
and Jennifer seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Okay, motion's approved. Thank you, have a great time, and thank you for your help on opening night for all the sports activities.
That is good.
All right.
And back to school.
Back to school, yeah, you guys been busy. Okay, next up, we're item 6, depository resolution.
This is just something we are in the process of converting over to United Missouri Bank. They requested something we had not been requested, which I like it. It's another level of security. Nobody's names are different. These are the people whose names will appear. They're able to handle the money, but they would like for their files a record of board action approving these folks. And
Oh,
then,
yeah.
as this would change in the future, the board, if someone wishes to put my name off and somebody else is on, when that happens, well, then they do
They
that.
will.
But I really
Board
like
action,
it.
no,
It's-
No,
yeah.
it's good.
So we're just asking you to approve this resolution as record that the board consensus on it.
Do they charge us to change, like, because I know when the board president switched over, they charged us the fee to do that. Does UMB Bank do that?
UMB
Says-
doesn't charge us, it's our accounting software program that charges us.
Oh,
Because
okay.
they charge us to change the forms, like the check forms that have to have the signatures on them.
Oh, okay, okay, I thought it was the bank that did that, okay.
Well, I would move the approval that we adopt the commercial deposit resolution for United Missouri Bank as presented.
Second.
All right, motion by Sherrick, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, okay, that motion passes. Thank you. Next up, set the tax levy. Dr. Langford, your brief statement.
Brief statement is, based on the posting and the information shared, the administration recommends that the tax rate for operations be set at $2.7929 for this current tax year.
So moved.
Question.
On our form, it says 3.7.
66. On a form, it says 3 point, that's the total tax rate. We haven't dealt
Yeah.
with
Oh, that's with the
haven't dealt with the
90.
debt service.
The 91
Okay,
cents debt
okay,
service.
that's what the
Okay.
So we're setting only for the
7.92.
operational for incidental
Yep.
and general funds.
I'll second if it has not been.
All right. The motion was by
Yeah, I made the motion. and
Sherrick.
Brent seconded.
Seconded.
But I-
Questions?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yep.
Discussion, kind of.
Yeah. Go
I
ahead.
don't know, I'm struggling with this.
Uh-huh.
And anyone that knows me, I kind of wear my heart on my sleeve, and I've kind of talked to Dr. Moss and Dr. Langford. My problem is that we are, even though it's 4 cents,
Mhm.
we're kind of raising taxes without a vote of the people. But then if we don't, we're $400,000 less in our budget for our students. So what, you'd mentioned a $700,000 figure that we would
That will be
make?
new revenue generated based on new assessment
Mhm.
and the increased personal property. So
Right.
there's about a $20 million dollar assessed valuation times the levy, so that's the 700,000, which is shown on that
Right.
first page that was up there.
And that will come next year.
That will come based on the tax. We're setting the rate for the county to mail, to send to you, for you to pay this year prior to January 1.
But the
But it will be
700,000
in this,
would
be in this fiscal year,
When would we get the 700,000
this year.
new revenue?
In
This year?
this fiscal year, yes.
So actually, we would
So it's
not be
this
losing
year.
the 400,000, correct?
No, because, you know, if we had shown you what we showed you right here at 275, you would have seen a negative number, I believe, and I've got the form, of 400. It would have been a negative 417,000 subtracted from the 700, which means the net would have been 300 something.
That would have been a 300 gain.
Right.
Instead of a 700 gain.
And what we're saying is by raising the levy, you're only generating the amount equivalent to what you generated for this past year that was collected and paid prior to January 1 last year. The dollar amount for that will be the same. Now, we cannot guarantee every taxpayer, one will not see, some will go down, some will go up, depends. You know, if yours stays the same, it doesn't go down, then your taxes could go up $150,000 house dollar a month.
Okay, but, so what you're saying is last year we got 700 and.
No.
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 So no.
No,
That
the
was
last year,
last year.
that was all based on, we
That
would have
was
had a different calculation last year based on new construction. But you set the levy at 275 for operational purposes. So based on the money, based on $8,884,000, at 275, you got X. And today, that multiplier is not 886, it is 874, multiplied against something to get an amount equal to what you got last year. And it takes 2.7929 to get the equal amount in the total on existing properties upon which were paid last year.
So just to maintain.
To maintain, correct.
And the formula, you said 2006 is when it was adjusted?
2006 is when we went to a new formula, and again.
And who brought that formula into statute? Was that?
Missouri General Assembly.
Okay, so the General Assembly, and those General Assembly people are voted on by the population of the state. So, and our representatives, I don't know how they voted or not.
Well, our representatives were, because the Senate is the one that took the lead. It was a Senate bill.
In 2006.
2005. It actually was passed in 5, but not implemented till 6. And then they actually did a modification to that in 2006. So you had Senate Bill 287 in 2005, supplemented by Senate Bill 894 in 2006. And those really went back and said, we want to protect the local tax dollars that you're raising. You don't have to give it back to the state. You can keep it. But that's part of the adequacy. It's not equity anymore. It's about adequacy. And that's a part of the discussion.
Any other questions, discussion?
So what does that, and maybe you haven't figured this, but what does that $400,000 mean to us per student? So if it costs us so much to educate a student.
$50.
$50 a student less.
Did I get that right?
That's the math. I have 8,000 students and $400,000. I'm with you. That's that. Any other discussion? Okay. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, that motion passes.
Now, the second thing we need to deal with is the debt service levy. And the debt service ceiling is $1.3239. We recommend that you continue the levy of 91 cents in debt service as you have in the past. So that will bring the total levy to $3.70, 3.7029, up from 366.
I'll move that we approve the debt service at .91 cents.
I will second.
All right, motion by Sherrick, second by Derek. Discussion?
Just reiterating, we're not changing that.
No
That's
flat.
what we're saying. We're not
It is,
changing that.
it is 40-some
Yeah.
cents less than it could be, but we don't need to raise
Yeah.
it.
Right.
We're very comfortable.
All right. Okay. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. Yes.
Yes. Okay, that motion passes too. Sorry we broke it into two pieces, but it's done. Next, item number 8, renewal of employee health plan reinsurance.
Yes, Carol Williams and Sherry McCoy are here with us this evening. They are from our third-party administrator healthcare solutions group, and I would like for them to join me this evening in this short presentation. So Healthcare Solutions Group has provided the district with bids for reinsurance for the plan year beginning October 1st and running through September 30th of 2018. I have good news in that and Dr. Langford alluded to this a little bit earlier, our plan cost analysis currently reflects that Joplin schools and its members have experienced an exceptional year as it relates to their health plan this year. And so hopefully this will result in a positive effect in our fund reserve balance this year. And so what we have before you this evening, and it was included in your packet, are 4 carriers in bids for the stop loss reinsurance. The district would like to focus on the fixed cost associated, and there is a summary of the fixed cost in your packet, and then highlighted in yellow in the comparison of the 4 bids, you will find those particular fixed costs. So we would like to move forward with a recommendation for Companion Life, which is a A+ rated company from A&M Best. You will see that the district would experience a savings of $35,599.80 by moving forward, and this is the result of our exceptional year and a reduction in experiences related to those that are catastrophic. Ladies, do you have anything you would like to add, or do you have any questions that you would like to ask?
I have a question on the page where it shows renewal recommendation savings. So it looks like, and maybe I'm wrong, maybe I'm reading it wrong, that the administrative costs are going up, but the others are not. So is that what we're paying what administrative, which, is that a third-party administrator, or is that the American, is that what the company you're recommending we go with?
That would be us, and that was already voted on previously. It just shows up so that you can see the exact numbers. That increase was voted on the last time that we were, it was last time.
I believe it was, yes.
In a recent meeting, you approved to continue them
For the TPA.
for another year,
It was a 3-year contract.
but you extended it one more year, is what they did, correct?
No. No, it was a new 3-year.
It was 3 that we could review
That we could
every
renew
year.
it each year. Or, yeah, we could opt out each year. Yeah.
But the very last page in the packet shows you, the middle section there are the administrative and fixed costs, so you can see what those are.
And the reason this is coming up again is because we gave you a projected cost, our preliminary quote, and this is the firm and final.
Because you have the full year's worth of data.
Yes. Right.
And what is important as well is that the cost here for Companion Life is a guaranteed amount if we do enter into an agreement by August 31st.
Well, I'd move that we approve the recommendation of Companion Life on its renewal. It looks like it's pretty close to the other numbers that you guys looked up from, looks like 3 other providers. So there's not a lot of variance there, but you're saving a little bit of money, and we certainly appreciate every penny that we can get.
Absolutely. I'll second.
Motion.
We actually, excuse me.
Oh, go ahead,
We
please.
actually used the bid from American Fidelity to leverage against the incumbent.
Yep.
And drove them down. It's highly unusual to see a reduction.
You don't have to say that.
Fixed cost. But
Well,
that's
those
how-
other folks are trying to get your business, and so you can leverage that into a better deal with a renewal. So it looks like you guys did a good job on getting that.
That's why we like to stay with the same
Yeah.
carrier.
You don't want
Partner.
to, you don't want to be shopping every year. It's
Right.
kind of,
That's exactly
gets a little awkward.
Motion by Sherrick, second by Lori. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes, that motion passes. Thank you, ladies. I apologize for having you here so late in the future. If we've got guests, let's move them up the list. But thank you for coming. Policy updates.
These are all first reading, and Jennifer gave us a good synopsis at the beginning of the meeting, but if you have any questions, we'll certainly entertain those.
The big question I've got is, Deborah, Jennifer, you read them and okay with them? Okay, that answers my question.
We're the committee.
That's right.
Way to put that on fellow board members.
We all play to our
Every
strengths.
word, we read every word.
They did.
It's like
Carrie.
MSBA is helping us as
Poor
well.
Carrie.
So-
I think Carrie brings
Well,
most of them
I
to us.
appreciate you guys doing
Yeah,
that.
yeah, it's not my strength, so I appreciate you guys doing that. Any other questions specific? Then I'll make a motion that we approve the first reading as listed there in item 9.
Second.
Okay, so I made the motion, Jennifer seconded. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes?
Yes, okay, that motion passes. Number 10, annual facility use fees.
As part of our policy in KG, we need to look at our fees that we charge for all of our facilities when renters come into the facility and want to use different venues. And so this is just nothing more than a review of what we have been charging. And then also, we did want to make one change. When we bill for custodial, that could fluctuate a little bit depending on if somebody is getting overtime. So when we had it before, it was $25. It really was an estimate. And really $30 is a little closer to the estimate. Sometimes it's $27 an hour, depending on the employee, and sometimes it's $32 an hour. Because, we have to get people to work on weekends and those kind of things. So when we give an estimate to the potential renter, we just want to be a little bit closer. That's all it is. So, and the other thing was, you'll notice that Coulter Auditorium at the Joplin High School, those fees on page 14 of that document are just reflective of what's on the previous document. But also, we have fees in case we are participating with that renter in terms of offering manpower. It's not always that we can do that, but sometimes we can, and sometimes we can with students. With so many adults and so many students, run the lights, help run the sound, whatever it is, and those fees would be the same. So that's what we wanted to standardize those.
Carrie, I have a friend whose child goes to school outside the school district, and they suffered some water damage to their basketball court. Can they rent the auditorium here? Can that school rent that for purposes of playing volleyball?
Yes.
They can?
Yes, they can.
There's a price list in there too.
Yep.
I saw that. That's the reason I
And
brought
that's-
it up, and that's just interesting information to me. I think that they were not aware of that option.
Yep.
It would be a very convenient option for this group.
It is, and now with all of our safe rooms and Memorial Gym here, we have a lot of activities going on. If we can work it around the activities, then our activities take priority, but then we will be accommodating to certain groups, or
Just
groups
keep
that
them
are
on the
interested.
mezzanine.
Well,
Right?
be safe
For
very
now,
soon.
yeah.
Very soon.
I just want to say, this came out of our policy committee, actually. And last year, I think it was Jason Cravens that came up with this, and he did it, I thought, a good job with that. But then I just want to commend, was it Carrie, you, and was it Brandon Eggleston that went through and thought of every other service that we provide and figured out what that would cost and so that people, when they do rent our facilities, we make sure that they're getting what they need, and if we can help them, we do. And there's costs associated with that, but if you look at this, they took some serious time going through, trying to think of everything they could, and so I just wanted to commend you for the thoroughness of this document, so.
My only question is, are they charged $30 per hour, or are they charged the actual rate?
Well, it's per hour, so if we.
But it has estimated, so when they actually get the bill, are they getting billed $30 an hour, or are they getting billed $29.42?
Actual rate on custodians.
And that's good to know. I wanted
The rest of them, it is by the hour, but because we're already paying the custodians.
I understand. I
That's
just
why.
want to make sure that
Yep.
they're not going to see a charge for $30 an hour. They're going to see a charge for 28 or 31 or 29 or whatever.
Right, and Gigi Mathis does a great job of that. She's following up, and she gets what it comes back from finance, and then that's how the final billing goes out.
Okay. And maybe in that document, you can put a note that will be billed as actual.
I believe it's not on this one, but it is on
Okay.
our actual final form. It does state that.
Okay.
I'm going to make a motion that we approve the annual facility use fees, including the JHS PAC as presented.
I will second. All right, motion by Sherrick, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. That motion passes. Thank you. Southwest Center of Educational Excellence membership.
Yeah, this is our annual fund annual renewal rate that we pay to the Southwest Center in Webb City that provides professional development for all kinds of different activities. They have professional development ongoing all year, and we can either participate in or not. So we have a great relationship with them, so they do our first-year teacher in service day, and
Excellent.
yeah, do a very nice job with it. Dr. Langford's got a little bit to do with that place over there.
And this is coming out of PD funds anyway.
That's correct. Comes out of our 1% money.
1%, yeah.
All right.
I move we approve.
Motion by Lori.
Second.
Second by Jennifer. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. And then number 12, cognitive coaching training, adapted schools.
Yeah, this is the follow-up, the last 3 rounds of cognitive coaching and adaptive schools. This will get 3 people in our district certified and able, by virtue of the cognitive coaching group, to carry on training with our staff. And this is a follow-up from what was started a year and a half ago or so. And this will conclude that piece that we have with Tony Prickett's group. And
Didn't we get trainers within, wasn't the idea that this last year we were getting trainers within the district? So
Right,
we
and
wouldn't
this-
have to pay?
that's, these 3 last pieces will certify our people, yeah.
So they co-train for 1 more year before they're released as trainers themselves. So Tony still comes, leads that, but they do it alongside our people.
Right.
It's quite a process. to
It's
become certified.
a huge time-consuming process with the folks who are going through that training, and it's, yeah, it's quite a deal,
It's been a
so.
big commitment on the part of
Yeah.
the district.
And this will come out of Title II funds.
It was still voluntary, correct?
Excuse me?
Voluntary.
Yes.
Well, I'll move that the board approve the cognitive coaching and adaptive schools training.
I will second. Motion by Sheriff, second by Derek. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes, that motion passes. Okay, last up, what was good?
Plus deltas.
I like the way that Dr. Langford presented the monthly budget information. I think that's a definite plus in being
Getting
able to
a
understand
concise, accurate look.
and get that snapshot, and it's more up to date than what we've kind of ever had before. So I think that was a definite plus.
Where I can understand.
Yeah. That was a plus.
I think the team that came from the high school were well prepared, tried to make their program align with our strategic goals, and as much as we can keep things aligned to our strategic goals, we make sure we don't wander from the mission, so.
Exciting.
I'd like to commend our new athletic director, Matt Hyatt. He conducted a first annual all-sports parent meeting, and I thought it went very well. It was a nice tool to kind of bridge that gap between home and school, and just wanted to say that.
I think the back to school was awesome. I think that I got a lot of teacher feedback that it was very positive and exciting. So I enjoyed it, even though I was up front and didn't want to be, but I enjoyed it.
And there was feedback too, that it was not just the teachers, it was staff from everywhere.
Yes.
From the bus drivers and the custodians to the nurses and the early childhood education.
Yeah, well, and I think that's one of the first times they've ever been recognized, too. I think that was a good thing.
It was very
I
good.
think the video, I think we should have watched the video, but that was just throwing that.
I think that's going to be in the filter, Vince.
If not, it should.
All right, what can we do better next time? I think we went a little long. I need a giant gong.
We had a lot of important stuff.
Well,
There
there
were.
was a lot to do to keep it busy.
Yep.
And we started late because of the tax hearing.
Yep. I think taking a break was still needed. Yeah. All right, anything else? Any announcements, board announcements? All right, thank you, everybody. Move we adjourn?
I will second.
All right, I move Derek's second. Please vote.
Yes.
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 Yes. We're adjourned. Thank you, everybody. All right.
I had to be a little odd for you.
Yeah, I was ready.
Went back here.